Steven Wright. He's one of my
Steven Wright's amazing.
Just a genius. Like I watched some of his stuff and I'm like, where did you fucking think of that? Like, how did you even think of that?
Like, okay, so when I started, there was still kind of a leftover, like right after Mitch Hedberg died, there were a ton of people doing Mitch Hedberg's style, right?
I've tried to stay away from that as hard as I can.
And then, yeah, and then, but there was still a little bit left over, like, because that always happens. Like, you always get somebody that's really hot, and then a bunch of newer people are basically emulating that person because that's who they look up to. And you're always seeing kind of cycles of it. For a long time, it was Eddie Murphy, and then
Chris Rock. I remember a lot of people.
There was people that were, but Chris Rock was so unique in his delivery that it was hard to emulate that. Mitch Hedberg, it's a lot easier to emulate that monotone.
Yeah.
And then it was. I always thought it was funny. It was like, well, if that's who you're emulating, like, why don't you ever watch Steven Wright?
Yeah, but that's the king. That's the guy.
Like, that was the guy that like made that a thing.
And yeah, I mean? He basically, I've always looked at it as like Mitch Hedberg jokes was Steven Wright's first thought of that joke. That was what he thought, and then he mastered it. Mm-hmm. And then I remember going like looking into him. He's got like
he's Steven Wright with a little more peace love vibe. That's right.
Yeah, and he talks. I guess he's a little bit more edgy than Steven Wright. I've learned is for the most part pretty clean, which you don't realize it when you're listening because of the stuff he's talking about and then he says is just like. And then I watched him there, and when I first started becoming a one-liner, and I was like, I had to stop. I was like, I'm gonna fall into like being, basically pulling some shit or saying something like he does, and that's I know I want to stay away from that, but I can still appreciate how fucking genius he is. The fact that he wrote a movie, got a Grammy for it, and like I don't think the movie was that great. I'll be honest, but coming out of him, you just don't expect it. He's so, you just. I thought he died too, and then I just found it was like he's got a show in Texas.